Today on the program, we take a closer look at road infrastructure in the FCT with the aim of answering a very pertinent question. Why are there so many ongoing projects that seem not to have completion dates in the FCT? Are there problems we don't know about? What's the plan for rural areas where road networks are crucial to ensuring security of the residents? Then there's the issue of vandalism of road infrastructure. If these infrastructure cannot be protected, is it time for the FCT administration to think out of the box? We speak with the Executive Secretary of the Federal Capital Development Authority on plans to make the FCT a world-class capital city for the country. In our Abuja wrap, Nigeria remembers its fallen heroes. The Vice President meets Nigerian researchers for a COVID-19 cure, and the PTF insists there is no plan for a lockdown. And speaking of lockdowns, Mr. Sowore was granted bail with very tight conditions. This is Dateline Abuja. Hello and welcome to Dateline Abuja. I am Kayla Megwa. We ply these roads on our daily commute, and they've been a disaster to our mental health and our suspensions. I'm talking about the Nyanya Market Road, the Apokarshi Road, Arab Road in Kubwa, the Federal Housing Road in Lugbe, among so many others. And this has been the story for years. And then there are the roads in the rural areas that criminals bank on to carry out their nefarious acts. We'll get to that later. But first, let's take a look at the main activities from the presidency this week on our Abuja wrap. Nigeria has held a ceremony to commemorate the 2021 Armed Forces Remembrance Day. The event, which held at the National Arcade in Abuja, seeks to honor Nigeria's fallen heroes and the men who give their all to defend the nation's peace and sovereignty. President Muhammadu Buhari and the service chiefs were present to pay respect to the nation's heroes. Also in attendance were the Minister of Defense, the Vice President Yemi Osinbajo, as well as the leaders of the legislature and the judiciary. President Muhammadu Buhari has called on Nigerians, especially the elite, to be fair in their criticism of his administration. He said this when he met with the Executive Secretary of the Nigerian Christian Pilgrims Commission, Reverend Yakubu Pam, who is calling for a national peace and prayer summit.
Before the NSAS protests, some key top church leaders were making a prayer protest on the street with their members of their churches, and that is what we went to make sure we approach them, bring them together and have a discussion. And it was very, very fruitful. Meeting with church leaders in the South-South, Southeast and South-South zones is a proposal. The leadership of the National Youth Council of Nigeria, together with ethnic youth leaders, have met with me in my office, and we exploit the possibility and the advantages of joining resources to host a national conference of the Youth Council of Nigeria. And there is every need to buy in the support of youth leaders in the effort to achieve peace nationally. Only such buy-in will curtail youth restiveness that culminated to such events as the NSAS protests and other related anti-social behaviors on the part of our youth.
The Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, met with some stakeholders in the oil and gas industry in continuation of the federal government's consultations ahead of the passage of the Petroleum Industry Bill, currently before the National Assembly. The stakeholders that attended the virtual meeting include the Oil Producers Trade Section in Nigeria and Independent Petroleum Producers Group. Also, Professor Osinbajo met with a team of Nigerian professors and scientists under the auspices of the INVER COVID Research Group. They're investigating the effectiveness and roles that the ivermectin drug can play in the treatment of the coronavirus. In a statement from his media aide, Mr. Laolu Akonde, the group is led by the principal investigator, Professor Femi Babalola. Meanwhile, the federal government is considering a review of the COVID-19 national safety protocols and curfew hours. The national coordinator of the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19, Dr. Sani Aliyu, made the disclosure in view of the rising number of COVID-19 cases across the country.
We've had discussions with state governors, including a review of curfew hours, particularly with the aim of addressing and sniffing out the issue of nightlife and entertainment, which is also driving the current numbers. And once this review is completed, an announcement will follow with regards to the curfew.
In the meantime, the federal government is insisting that the January 18 resumption date for schools in the country remain intact despite fears over the surge in COVID-19 cases in Nigeria. The Ministry of Education, however, explains that all schools and parents must ensure strict compliance with COVID-19 protocols, such as wearing of face masks, social distancing, among others.
Revolution! Now! Revolution!
An Abuja Chief Magistrate Court has granted bail to the conveyor of Revolution Now, Mr. Omoyele Sowore, and 4 others standing trial for the alleged unlawful assembly, criminal conspiracy, and inciting public disturbance. Ruling on the bail application filed on behalf of the defendants, the Chief Magistrate, Mabel Shegun Bello, admitted Mr. Sowore to bail in the sum of 20 million naira and 2 sureties in the like sum. The court also ordered Mr. Sowore to remain in Abuja and must physically report to the court registrar every Monday and Friday, pending the hearing and determination of the case against him. Part of efforts to reduce acts of terrorism and insurgency to the barest minimum in the country, the military has announced the killing of 64 Boko Haram terrorists in Borno and Yobe states. Addressing a news conference, the coordinator of the Defense Media Operation, Major General John Enenche, says the military and other security agencies have continued their major operations across the country with renewed vigor.
On the 7th of January, troops of Operation Lafia Dole came in contact with Boko Haram terrorist elements while conducting clearance operation on their enclaves between Gonire and Gorgi in Gujba and Damaturu local government areas of Yobe and Borno states. Accordingly, troops engaged the terrorists and neutralized several of them, while 10 gun trucks were recovered by the troops. In another development, on the 9th of January, troops of the newly launched subsidiary operation Tura Takai Bongo had contact and engaged some marauding Boko Haram terrorist element at Gujba local government area of Yobe State. During the encounter, 28 terrorists were neutralized and several others escaped with gunshot wounds, while 1 gun truck and several arms and ammunition were recovered. Similarly, on the same day, troops had an encounter with some Boko Haram ISWAP terrorists at Gonangaji village along the Maturubuni Yadi Road in Yobe State. During this encounter, 30 terrorists were killed in contact, while caches of arms and ammunition were recovered by troops.
The Nigeria Police Force are again reaffirming their commitment to the provision of adequate security for all persons resident within the country. Speaking in Abuja while parading 16 suspects arrested for kidnapping, armed robbery and car snatching, the force public relations officer, Mr. Frank Mba, says the police will not relent in its efforts to maintain the internal security of Nigeria until criminals learn to be law-abiding citizens.
Let me convey the assurances of the Inspector General of Police, IGP Mohammed Abubakar Adamu, on the preparedness and the readiness of the Nigeria Police Force to provide adequate security for lives and property for Nigerians as well as foreigners living in Nigeria in this new year. The Nigerian Police Force will be unrelenting in our fight against all forms of crimes, particularly armed robbery, kidnapping, banditry, cultism, cybercrime, gender and sexual-based violence, and other forms of crime within the country in this new year.
Welcome back. Our feature story takes us around the FCT to examine the state of roads across the city, how long the constructions have lasted for, the challenges with their completion, and the plan for roads in the rural areas. The Federal Capital Territory is blessed with well-laid and expansive road networks, especially in the city center, where most government offices and public officials reside. However, the state of the roads in some of the satellite towns where most workers reside leaves little to be desired. Gaba community is in the Buhari Area Council and is located 57 kilometers from the city center. The residents are predominantly farmers. Most of the agricultural produce in the entire Buhari Area Council comes from this community. However, they struggle with access to their community because of the bad state of the road.
This side you are seeing right now is the only place we can manage. Once you just reach the other side, before you pass there, the poto there will even be as if it wants to swallow your machine tire. So since from that place going upward, the road is not good. A journey that will take 1 hour or less even 5 minutes, it take you like 1 hour. You see, that is not good. So that is the challenge you are having here.
This gully erosion is further threatening to cut off the community. The leadership of the council insists that the repair of the road is beyond them.
About 80 to 85% of the food you see in the market within Buhari Area Council are produced within this area. So you cannot just write this area off in terms of agricultural produce. So it has economic importance to the council, and cutting this road off is going to be a big blow on the side of the council. This is beyond the council, and the council has written to relevant agency to see how they could intervene and salvage this situation.
Every morning, workers in the public and private sector make their way into the nation's capital in search of their daily living. Their movement is worsened by the traffic they face each time they're either heading to their places of business or on their way back home. Naturally, their concern is not the state of the roads in the city center. They are more concerned about the state of the roads in the satellite towns.
If you go to Dusi Alhaji, there's no road there. You go to this Maraba road, there's no road there. Every day you wake up from your house, going to work, you have to wake by 4 o'clock. Going home, you have to stay back at 9 o'clock. And you have a family that will welcome. Maybe before you get home, your family, your children, they will be asleep before coming. It's not good. They should walk on that road.
The Federal Executive Council approved several road contracts for the Federal Capital Territory. Some of them are the rehabilitation of roads in the Gwagwalada Area Council and the upgrading of the Kwali Town Road project, both at the cost of 1.6 billion naira. Road projects in the city center are also getting attention.
Today, there was an approval for the contract for the full-scale development of arterial road, which we call N20, which is the road that is linking Sheikh Musa Yar'Adua, also called the Northern Parkway, with the Murtala Muhammad Way, which is popularly known as the Kubwa Expressway. This project involves the full-scale construction of that road, including a number of bridges and the normal telecommunication, power, water lines in line with the general standard of roads in the FCT. The contractor for that project is Gilmore Engineering Nigeria Limited, and the project is a contract of 30 billion.
According to the FCT administration, funding is a major challenge in the effort to fix roads in the nation's capital. To remedy the situation, the Nigerian Society of Engineers wants the government to allow the private sector take over some of the roads.
There should be a partnership between the government and the private sector, so that some of these roads should come out, be managed by private individuals. They will bring in their money and their resources and then get these roads fixed up. Satellite towns are springing up every day in Abuja because it's the federal capital. People are flocking into Abuja every day. They need to sit somewhere. Government cannot provide infrastructures to all these places. They cannot.
In the meantime, the administration is proposing to spend about 45.5 billion naira on capital projects in its 2021 National Priority Capital Projects. Several of these projects are listed among the roads to be given attention. Some of the projects proposed include the construction of the Southern Parkway Road in the Central Business District, the rehabilitation and the expansion of the Outer Northern Expressway project, which links the Presidential Villa, rehabilitation and expansion of the Airport Expressway, as well as several roads in the satellite towns. The administration insists that its principle is to complete all existing projects before taking on new ones. When the FCT minister, Mr. Mohammed Bello, came into office 5 years ago, he promised to complete all ongoing road projects. How much of that promise has he kept? Our guest on the program is Engineer Umar Jibrin, the Executive Secretary of the Federal Capital Development Authority. He tells me that his office has an interesting plan to stop vandalism of road infrastructure in the nation's capital. Engineer Jibrin, it's nice to see you again.
It's my pleasure to have you here.
You know, when the FCT minister came into power, one of the first things he said was that they were going to complete a lot of the uncompleted projects, especially road projects in the FCT. That was one of the major promises he made. How far have we gone with that promise?
I think we have gone a long way because there were so many of these roads within the city in particular that have been either truncated or have been turned into a kind of, series of blockages. You'll be moving and you have to divert because there is one obstruction or the other because of the lack of continuity. The first of it was the airport road. Certainly, from the time he came in, we were able to remove all those barriers. If you remember, in those days, you would be diverting to one lane and then you come back to this side. Eventually, he made the funds available, even though in a very, trickle manner, but we were able to at least accomplish and get the airport road fully on course. The next one is the AYA. You remember in those days, from coming into the city from the Yanyang end, you will not have this smooth movement that you do now on the popular Goodluck Ebele Jonathan Expressway. And it's there for anybody to see. We're not done with it at the intersection with the Outer Southern Expressway, the one just behind the villa. But we're also working to complete the entire loop arrangement there so that that continuation into the city on the Ebele Jonathan will be expanded to include movement from it down onto the Outer Southern Expressway, or if you want to go back towards the Onyx, which is also going back towards Kubwa Road. But specifically the linkage at the point where the Nyanya Road, which is the Ebele Jonathan Road, crossed the Outer Northern and the Outer Southern, which is the one that takes you towards the Godu area. That place, you can now only go on top of the bridge to go into, past the Villa Gate, and then you come into the Central Business District. There is no way you now come down and follow it to go towards Gudu. They are now currently working on it, so that's what I'm referring to, the complete clover leaf that will give you the chance to go down to the lower ground or come up if you want, depending on the direction you want to go.
Granted, a lot of these constructions are ongoing right now and a lot of work has been done, but there are many roads that have been largely ignored. I want to get to them. The Apokarshi Road, that Lugbe Road, the Nyanya Market Road, that one has been like that forever. And then, of course, there's the Kado Fish Market Road, that place at Life Camp, and then the Arab Road in Kubwa. What's the status? What's going on with the construction of these roads?
We have been able to take some of them to a level, and then we're now going to go on to continue with it, like the one you call...
like the Arab Road?
Not Arab Road. Arab Road, you're talking in Kubwa, is it? Yes. Yeah, but right now you notice that there is work going on from the Zuba Road now, the main expressway, the Outer Northern Expressway, Murtala Mohammed. If you take the one that goes to Lower Usman Dam or Buhari, at the Dusa El Haji portion of it, the work is going on now. It's part of the attempt to make these roads more, accessible for commuters and it will link you up to the one heading towards Buari. That's the one that is making the link to Kaduna through Jere. All these are currently, under construction.
Because that place has it's massive hold up every day. They did one side. There's the side that leads to the army estate was done. It's the other side where the market is.
Right now they are working on the other side. Previously the rains was a constraint, and then of course the COVID came in, so they had to suspend work. But right now they are there trying to conclude this other lane, like you rightly said, and that will take the pressure off that segment. It's probably because of the market and our own attitudes. Otherwise, it's something that can be done even as movement, is happening on the stretch. But I think we are working very hard to bring it to, completion, and then everything will be properly in the way it should be. The one on the old Karmo you're talking about, you notice that from the Jabi end up to the Life Camp Junction, it's now completed. We are going to continue, going towards what we call the Ring Road 3, okay? Because that is the one that is not in the old Karmo Road. It's not in our arrangement at all. There is going to be a new one that will link up with the expressway of the Ring Road 3, so that it gives connections to other districts within that area. And that one too is coming on board very, very shortly.
Road construction in the FCT it's ongoing. There's constant road construction.
We're complying mostly with the master plan arrangement. Yes. So the entire arrangement is on ground. It's just that we keep moving in phases and in segments, because that's the natural way to go. Otherwise, it won't make any much of sense.
Let's talk a bit about rural areas. What's the plan for roads in the rural areas? Because many rural areas, look at that Jere.
Of course, that one is ongoing, like I said.
Yes.
And
but imagine those villagers that have to come out to Jere. Imagine those people, if they're coming to that Duse market. It's a nightmare for them, for them to come out of their rural areas to be able to enter the city center to do what it is that they need to do. And we know that a lot of people who are working in the city center actually come from those places to work here. So what are we doing about the access roads in the rural areas in the FCT?
Okay, you see that one that we're working on, the one that takes you to Jere and then up back to the Kaduna Road. Once the thing is completed, the natural linkages to it will come in, because right now you wouldn't even know where there is a connection to it. But by the time the road is done completely, then the one from Jere, the one from the southern Kaduna side will come in, and then it will feed into it and head to Kaduna side. But what I'm saying is, very recently, I think about maybe 3 weeks ago, there was a contract that was given by the Federal Executive Council for rural roads in the FCT, specifically in the Gwagwalada and Kwali, within Gwagwalada and Kwali area councils, under the Satellite Towns Development Department. So it's part of the, coming in of new rural roads that will help to bring in all the food, agri products that are coming from those locations. It will be much easier for them coming into the city now.
Well, good luck with all the projects that you have coming up, and we're looking forward to following up on those projects.
Thank you so very much.
Can Abuja truly become a world-class city before the end of this administration? What this administration keeps trying to do is return Abuja's road network to its original plan. The problem is, there's no definite time when this will be completed. The good news is, at least the Gwagwalada and Kwali roads, recently approved by the Federal Executive Council for 1.6 billion naira, have a 6-month completion time, and we've been promised that several roads in rural areas will be fixed. But until then, residents will have to suffer the agony brought on by plying bad roads in the FCT. And on that rather sad note, we come to the end of this week's edition of the program. Remember to keep us updated with happenings in your neighborhood using the social media handles on your screen. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Kayla Megwa. See you next time.